Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate Live. I'm your host Nathan Oakley, and if you are new to this channel, or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you'd like to support the channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they are live. There's also a PayPal, Patreon and crypto link in the info box below the video. Most importantly, if you'd like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the nature of Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show on social media. Sharing the show obviously increases the live audience, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel, so please share the show. One last time, if you're new to the channel or you've not done so already, then be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. I'm going to do a quick shout out to all of the people who support me on Patreon before we get on with a bit of housekeeping. So, massive shout out of appreciation to Abraham Mohammed, Adam, Adrian Quintana, Alistair Main, Blue Ridge Ranger, Burn Fat Till My Stomach Is As Flat As the Earth, Chow Young Cat, Dank, Dave Rakia Gafford, David Robinson, David Wayne Foster, Daz Studio 68, Edwin Johnson, Erwin Jennisons, Felix Hung, Fireball X, Henrik 86, God Rockin, Joshua Balsimo, Kirsten Smith, Liam Nedrick, Life is Short, Maria Neelands, Matt, Missouri Bear, Nagara, Nathan Thompson, Naibai, Qatar Craig, Renee, Rob H, Sally Ballis, Silver Umbrella, Skeptic 936, Texas Mike, theflatearthchannel.com, The Real Gabster, Tina Baker, Tom Herkins, Unbelievable Productions and Windrider. So a massive shout out of appreciation to all of you who support me on Patreon. Now we are joined in both G Plus and Discord by a whole bunch of people, including Chocolate Sane and 10th Man. So welcome one and all.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, Vietnam.
Good morning. Any signs of physical Earth curvature, formerly the horizon?
There's a Black Swan in my view, so I can't tell yet.
No signs of Earth curvature of any description?
Nah.
That'd be a hard
Not
edge.
from Coachella.
Mathematical.
Not from Coachella. What was that?
Coachella. Coachella.
Coachella.
Yeah, it's south of Palm Springs.
Fair enough. Any signs of axial rotation?
Only on my bicycle, not of the Earth-based variety.
Nope. Nothing. Nada.
Any evidence of the
Well, they say
distance
there's
to the
an
sun?
axis. Where is it?
Where, indeed. Where's the sun? Where's the distance? How far to the sun? Anybody?
I like Arwen's answer. It's over there.
Where
What
is
what
Alan?
is that again?
What is it? We ask how far to the sun, and he says it's just over there.
Yeah, because we don't know how far
Well,
it
it's
is.
as far as the east is from the west.
All right.
It's a good answer because sometimes people will strawman us that we think the sun doesn't exist and things of that sort of stupid nature.
Oh, the sun
Yeah.
definitely exists. We just don't know how far it is, and we don't know the makeup.
Well, at the
No,
moment,
it's just.
go on.
I was just gonna say no. It's right over there. I agree with that. When it's above me in the sky, yeah, it's right there.
Guys, ever read the comments on the main show, live show, underneath when we normally do the debate on the main channel?
I do at times.
At the moment, there's a common strawman that's starting to build up, which is you shouldn't see a horizon on a flat Earth. In other words, this is a brainwashed Muppet Vision representative who's so used to using a side-on view in the curve calculator that doesn't account for perspective that they assert that were it to be uncurved, the curved line in the calculator, we wouldn't have a horizon at all. The only horizons are ones that are physical sphere edge obstructions in side-on view, according to them. Straightening out a line means you can see forever. There wouldn't be a horizon. You're like, wow, we are dealing with quite stupid people in some instances, many instances.
Right. So now they're denying diffraction, basically.
Basically, they're denying perspective in the truest sense. They're denying a vanishing point at all existing. No, there is no vanishing point. You should see forever.
Yeah, that's pure perspective denying. Absolutely.
Well, that's this. They have to make up things. With Coriolis is, well, that's powered flight. Has no bearing. It actually should help their Coriolis with powered flight because the plane helicopter could stay in the second reference frame longer. So that's a stupid comeback. But, the sheep buy it. And then when it comes to the horizon, they say, well, it would be there if there was no atmosphere. Yeah, which one of your scientists or pseudoscientists ever did that test? Nonsense.
Talking to
No
scientists.
Atmo Day.
Talking to
No
scientists.
Atmo Day. When was that?
There is no Atmo Day.
Oh man.
You mean the Globers didn't say let's take a breather or one of those phrases?
The sky vacuum just isn't effective enough. It doesn't obey the second law of thermodynamics, even when they need it to suck out all the atmosphere to see a geometric horizon. In spite of the fact that the definition of a geometric horizon is the visible location where the ground appears to meet the sky. Visible location. Apparent. Appears. Supposed to be able to see that. If it's not seen, it's not a horizon, right, Chocolate?
Exactly.
I've got a pun for the ballers before we go to the next housekeeping question. So Chocolate, if they ever come on the show and say there's no Atmo Day, just say that's a weak argument.
It's a weak argument.
Terrible. Terrible.
It might take them a few months to figure it out.
So, even though it's a late segue, any scientific evidence of gravity?
Oh gosh.
What's gravity?
No idea. Any scientific evidence of gravity?
Nope.
Well, if we see effects, then scientific approach would be to look for the effect of gravity, right? It would have to be a cause.
Yeah, we're going to need to see the effect first.
Right, well, the claimed effect is things dropping. They just claim it's all things because they don't specify. We all know the truth.
Yeah, things dropping that are in disequilibrium to begin with. That's not really a
Or
surprise.
cause
They're in
it, yeah.
disequilibrium.
This damn helium balloon sucks. Every time I drop it, it goes up, man.
But the microphone, for example,
Or they'll say-
the simple magic trick that brainwashes the masses is somebody picking up a microphone and dropping it, for example. Well, they ignore the fact that the person's had to pick it up first, that their interaction with that microphone is the only thing that's caused it to drop, and but for the fact that they picked it up, it wouldn't be moving an inch. But people ignore that because they're told, look, ignore me picking it up. Look at this man juggle over here. Look at the waistcoat. Look at the waistcoat. Right, now I've got the mic in my hand. Look, drops. What's that you say? I had to pick it up first. Shh! That was gravity.
Ta-da!
They
Ta-da!
also
Look at the
lean on weight,
So
pressure it
basically,
exerts on a scale,
Say again, Travis.
right?
Say that again.
I said that's their second one they lean on is the pressure. There is weight and the pressure it exerts on a scale, any particular object, right?
Wow, wrong. Gas expands in all directions.
I wasn't talking about gas. I was
Downward?
talking about an
A
object.
downward force? That's weird though, because gas expands in all directions rapidly. So
I didn't
downward?
say gas pressure. I just said the pressure of an object. They lean on that for their gravity.
What's gravity?
Pressure. Putting something on a scale. The down pressure.
Full circle, Travis.
Weight of the object.
Exactly. We've come full circle.
So what's gravity again, Travis? Or was that what you asked us? I forget.
No, that's what they lean on too. They besides misdescribing the situation with the microphone and such, They also lean on the pressure that an object puts on a scale that weighs an object.
Yeah, they have to equivocate or use a false equivalence rather, which is to describe gas as having liquid-like behaviour, which is to say that it's using an explanation that describes something called hydrostatic equilibrium, detailed by Kosher last time he was on the show. And it is to assume that a gas is two things, static and incompressible, when describing it in those terms. Well, fluid-like gases, highly compressed, can behave with some liquid-like properties. That's not to say that a gas, which is absolutely compressible, is any way capable of being compared to something like liquid, which you can give a downward weight attribution, that's the word. So it's just a false equivalence fallacy being utilised to describe something that doesn't have bonds as being something that's bonded, i.e. using a false equivalence between gas and liquid by using the word fluid.
Yeah, but Nathan, if you go through the magical mystery closet door of Globetard Narnia, there's time in the table.
Hold up.
How much time in that table now? Chocolate.
Depends how fast you measure it.
You gotta ask Brenda.
Depends how fast you measure it. That was her answer. Wait,
Speaking
Can I be heard now? Hello.
Yeah,
Am I
hello,
coming
Elijah.
in? Oh
What's
my
up,
god,
Eli?
thank you. It's only been 30 fucking minutes.
No need. Live audience, hello.
My
We
bad.
hear you, bro. You're good.
I actually did have a question about unorthodox.
Go ahead, Sam.
He said something about radar when he was talking about the horizon. Remember you guys had a Al-Baruni video about it?
Yes.
What was he talking about radar? Did he mean we shot radar at the apparent objects in the distance?
You'd have to ask him. I'm not going to back it for him. Sorry. But it's an interesting
Oh,
question.
I thought y'all knew what he meant because he said radar also. And I was like, huh, okay, so you shoot radar waves at the horizon? What's going on?
Yeah.
Well,
You've
he
fallen
had
victim.
trouble
Okay.
distinguishing whether he had one or two horizons in the first place, so who knows what he was saying.
What you've fallen victim to, Sam, is what's called a baseless assertion fallacy.
So he's never provided evidence for the radar part?
No cowbell. Just a baseless assertion.
No cowbell.
No, maybe he'll come along and
I'll
provide
have to
his
look that up.
claimed to be cowbell sometime in the future. But till then, hey Paul, we haven't had any cowbell for that one, I'm afraid.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Anybody who got anything to add? So I just want to round out some of these housekeeping questions. Any single viable hypothesis from any of the fields of astronomy, cosmology, or astrophysics? Don't all go at once?
Nope.
No. Unless you count the seat of the pants.
Guesswork? No, that's not going to cut it. That's not a viable
Leaps of
hypothesis.
logic? No.
Yeah, there's a certain supposition that's suppositional element to a hypothesis, yes. But, you know, the idea being that you're going to go forward to validate that supposition or invalidate that supposition, that's the kind of construction part of a hypothesis. But guesswork, in isolation when described by, I can never say his name, you're better at it than me, Chocolate.
Michio Kaku.
Michio Kaku, when he describes their complete avoidance of the scientific method. I think the quote would probably sum this up better than my paraphrasing it, Chocolate?
Yeah, nobody in my field uses the scientific method. It's leaps of logic, seat of the pants. It's guesswork. Michio Kaku.
Yeah, would you accept
I think
peer-reviewed
I think he was
thoughts instead
Hold
of
on 1 second, 10th man.
hypothesis?
Go on, Travis.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to talk over anybody. I was saying, would you accept peer-reviewed thoughts in lieu of scientific hypothesis?
No, definitely not.
Dang it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Michio Kaku was referencing a biology course because seat of the pants would involve 501 genes.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. 501 genes. Oh god. Somebody shoot me in the face.
God, he's such a
So,
slacker.
hey,
Come
by
on.
the way,
Right. Any evidence?
Nathan, next time you see Kosho.
Yeah, I'll
I'm
run
sorry, I thought you
it.
were
Was it
done with
kosher or was it unorthodox? Travis,
I don't know. I had something to say about Kosho,
go ahead.
but I'll wait.
Go ahead.
Yeah, what I was going to say is next time you see Kosho, ask him about his new complicated experiment. Apparently, it has to do with making a vacuum inside of a balloon.
Okay.
Unfortunately, he didn't elaborate on it.
What?
Yeah, maybe we'll get some cowbell for that. If he toddles by and you're not here, Travis, and I remember, I'll give him a tug. Any evidence of a self-perpetuating?
heard it.
Go on, Travis. Go on.
Oh yeah, I
What-
said
what
yeah.
did I-
Chocolate heard it.
What did I hear? I didn't hear what you said. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I was reading
that's
something.
okay. King Bullshit Kosho's experiment, a complicated experiment that involves basically creating a vacuum inside of a balloon.
Oh, the balloon. Yeah, he said some weird thing like, I want to do an experiment with a balloon and a vacuum in a balloon. And
Oh,
somehow
and see how fast
get
it
it
falls.
to like I couldn't even follow what the hell he was saying. It was nonsense.
That's
So,
because it falls under the realm of pop science.
I knew it. I knew it was coming. Shout out to Steve ALM for the super chat. Really appreciate your support. Thank you very much indeed. Right,
Come on, man.
Just
These
a
are
couple
good.
more housekeeping questions. We're nearly there. Any evidence of the R
You know-
value, Earth radius?
nah. Black Swan.
Only in the globe reification model.
Any evidence that you can have gas pressure without a container for all of the fundamentalist religious zealots who believe that the sky is a vacuum without the gas we're breathing filling it? Gas pressure without a container? Anybody? Anybody at all?
Well, no, I mean
Only on no-
container is in the definition
only on
of
no
gas
Atmo
pressure,
day.
so
Only on Horizon Day.
Only on Horizon Day.
Horizon.
Where X marks the spot.
That's where you find the buried treasure, man.
There it was. It was only 15 feet to the left of me. I knew it.
Yeah, their horizon is a pretty crazy thing when you think about it, isn't it? It's a single point marked with an X, when in reality, like the one on screen, it's a line that runs across the full image. Obviously, it might not necessarily run the full image. In this instance, there's a tree obscuring you. It brings me on to the geometric horizon, when you beg the question of a sphere, can be limited by topography, or you could put your hand in front of your face. There are things that can bring an obstruction closer. That's perfectly permissible on a geometric model, and it still permits the horizon to be a geometric horizon, regardless of it being obscured in the near foreground, creating a horizon like the one in this instance. This is not what would be claimed to be a geometric Earth curve obstruction horizon. It's just a horizon. But once it's breached, once it goes beyond the geometric limits, as in the Black Swan image, it's debunked as a geometric horizon, hence the justification from our opponents of how non-geometric, non-physical, apparent, whatever word they'd like to use on whatever day they're using it, horizon, rather than the geometric horizon necessitated by their model. So it's checkmate argument. There's a few people who are in the I'll put our top 3 video. Dun, 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 dun. So check it out, my top 3 globe killers. You all chuckled along yesterday or Monday, I think it was. But in that video, there's a few people in the comments saying, no, water's a better argument. I'm like, water's a very fine argument. It is. But unless you've got every single justifiable qualification you can give for the argument, there's going to be a weasel comes along and picks it apart. For example, you say that large bodies of water, this is a paraphrase comment to be honest, large bodies of water would prove the earth is flat to you. And someone comes along and says, what about tides and swells? And I just put at rest, hash mark, afterwards as my comment. And how often do we use that argument? Well, not particularly often. We'll use it as a qualification. Not Babs, who's the guy? Bev does a really good job of it. But he's not using it necessarily as just a blanket statement. You know, water's flat, therefore earth is flat. Which, you know, I can go with that. If someone put that out there, I'd back them. But it's water at rest. Well, you can find that in a lake in some instances. But on the whole, you're not going to find water at rest, especially when you're looking over the kind of vast distances that we're describing, when you're looking over open bodies of ocean. So it's not necessarily the best argument. That's why it didn't make the top 3. You know, I hung my hat on that argument for a number of years, like a lot of other people still do, and it's still a great argument. And it's useful when qualifying other arguments, like Bev does, when he's describing tangents to straight lines that haven't got curved surfaces underneath them by presupposition. That's his argument. And when he's describing what you're doing in actual physical terms with spirit levels, you know, that's the mechanic of that water that he's describing. But it's not as simple and blanket statement as some people put in the comment section of that top 3 video. There's another, I don't know if he's a Dell fan, some of the commenter was pointing out that one of the commenters has lost his wrench recently and was moaning and saying there wasn't enough substance in the top 3 video. I'm like, couldn't be any more substance. I qualified every single entry on that top 3 list. You know, Coriolis, there is no deviation. Now that might seem too concise for some people, but that's the bottom line of that argument. If Earth's turning, we're going to see things deviating, i.e. the plane, from our vantage point on the ground, is going to appear to take a curved path because Earth's turning underneath it. Now I can elaborate and say, if Earth's turning underneath the plane, then a flight from Charlotte to LA will take an hour and a half. You know, I can elaborate on that further and say, because the constituent parts and the speeds involved of the Earth turning underneath, I can elaborate as much as you like. But the constituent part of number 3 on that list, there should be a Coriolis effect. There isn't. That's as concise as you can make the argument. For a top 3 gag 2-minute video or 2-minute list with me singing over the top of it, couldn't get much better than that, as far as I'm concerned, for a Coriolis debunking. There should be Coriolis, there isn't. Same goes for gas pressure without a container. I qualified the argument. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas we breathe would fill the space. Dun 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 dun. If that's too concise for you, then I don't know what a good argument is. An argument that you can rattle off in a conversation with someone as they pass you by, walking. If the sky was a vacuum, the gas would fill the space. And then you keep walking, you know, and if that doesn't make them scratch their head as they're walking past you in the street, it's just very well qualified. It's a concise argument. We've been arguing it for a long time. Now, me giving the full Modus Tollens rendition was done for comedic effect on that top 3, but ultimately speaking, it still fully qualified the argument within that top 3. Anybody who listens to that for the first time has got 3 absolutely watertight, concise arguments that they could rattle off with full qualification for the argument. So I was really chuffed with that top 3. Considering it was done on the fly, in a moment of excitement, with Spurs there going, yeah, they don't like us being happy about this. We've got good arguments that we know what we're talking about with, and they don't like it. We're too happy about this.
That was a brilliant modus tollens that QE did, because he purposely put every horizon distance can be no more than, and then he based it on the observer's height in feet.
It's their geometry. So he peppers that with now, and when he makes the modus tollens argument now, he likes to cite things. He likes to actually back what he's saying, so it's not just making shit up university. Here's my citation. And Thomas, whatever his name is, what's the name of the
Andrew Thomas Young.
Andrew Thomas Young. He put that in originally. It could have been anything. It doesn't matter whether geometric measurements are referenced. It makes sod all difference. He's not the arbiter of geometry when it comes to Earth's sphericity. It's just a given reference. Now everyone went, of course, to do all the usual, here's the section you cited. Now, outside of your citation, there's all sorts of other crazy things that confirm my argument. Well, feel free to bring them along and cite them. Not that they ever will or ever do that. We never experience them actually citing things. But the fact that he did cite it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't mean that Quantum Eraser or Andrew Thomas Young have the main skinny, they're the arbiter of the geometric calculations. It's the standard model. Even Mick West, who's a similar deal, right? He's producing an Earth curve calculation based on what? Well, the standard model and its assumption of an R value. He made that claim when he came here. So they're all basing it on the same geometry. The fact that it's referenced by somebody who's just somebody qualified in the field of talking shit about globes. That's why he used him. Not because suddenly he's the only person that can be referenced in this regard. It's just simple geometry. The geometry they believe in.
He's got it. I've like I said, I've been reading a lot of his work. He's got an extensive bibliography where Andrew Thomas Young does, and he cites many other globers who have that view of the Earth. So he even cites his sources for their reification globe model. Doesn't mean he's right. We're just using him as well as his resources to have something that you could have right next to the Black Swan and say can't be. It's just not possible. So these are double speaking terms. He might say some good things in other places, but hey, that's what you use a hostile witness for, right?
I took the words out of my mouth. Secretly, I'm chuckling here because I know damn well that QE loves a hostile witness. He likes to antagonize. He doesn't poke the bear in the same way as Sleeping Warrior. He does it in a much more subtle way. I love it because it pokes the bear. He does it with the geometric horizon in terms of wanting to argue about how they qualify the refractive effects. And it's like, hold on though, as soon as you're into describing this, you're not detailing a geometric horizon anymore. Now, at the time I didn't quite understand. Quantum Ray is just a lot smarter than I am. He's just thinking a lot further ahead. He's getting them to disclaim our argument. Well, it's not a geometric horizon. Here's how it's refracted. Well, how is it refracted? What's the refractive effect? Well, it's this effect, or I don't care what the effect is. But then they're well into the grave of arguing about how it's not geometric. It's full on proving out the one black swan's all you need, because they're now telling us how non-geometric it is. It's like at the start we're saying no, you only need this one example to break geometry to never be mended again. And they're like, nah, but it's dead swan, doesn't matter, it's not important, head in the sand. And you're like, hold on, why are all your counterparts telling the world about how non-geometric the horizon is? Well, because you only need one black swan, and your side's now fighting our cause for us.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Nothing's changed. Nothing to see here.
Nothing to see here. We just no longer have a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon like the one in our model marked with an X and labelled horizon. We never see the geometric horizon.
Why would you expect to see it? Because it would be called a horizon, which would be something that you would see. Why would you have a horizon you don't see?
I'm going to start saying it back to him.
Like every time they say that, it's the horizon you don't see. What?
Don't
How does that make it? Go ahead.
Chocolate. Don't they remember Bill Nye with that boat going over?
I remember that. I remember that.
We don't have to qualify it. There's plenty of examples of them claiming that boats and islands and whatever else skylines are hidden behind a physical geometric sphere edge horizon called their geometric physical horizon. So we don't have to look far to find the examples. It's still their current rhetoric, bearing in mind we're only dealing with the fundies at trench level. How far this permeates out is dependent on how fast this plague permeates throughout society. But ultimately speaking, globe geometry is dead. Now we all know it, and we're all having a good laugh and a party about it. That's why that top 3 ended up getting put out. We're all in high spirits, right? But ultimately speaking, as it was declared at the time, you only need one black swan to completely debunk a geometric assertion to the point where they're justifying how non-geometric the horizon is. It's the death throes of their model. It's no longer tenable. It's the end. There is no arguing and assuming R anymore. So it's a very, very, very bad day when that black swan was first introduced to the populace. Very, very bad day.
That geometric horizon used to be considered the curve, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what they would use to say, right? The boats are going over the curve, right? And now they're saying we don't see the geometric horizon. So in other words, we don't see the curve, is what they're saying.
Yeah, just say it back to them, but with a slightly different tone. I'll give you an example. well, we'll rewind a few minutes and we get to the bit where you don't see the geometric horizon. And then you repeat back to them, that's right, you don't see the geometric horizon. And then if this continues, it's the horizon you don't see. Yeah, it's the horizon in your model that we don't see. That's right. Welcome to Flat Earth.
Yeah, and I was gonna say too that I don't know how close. I know you guys probably pay attention a little bit, at least, to what they're saying, like on Google, for as far as like the radius and the circumference of the Earth. But I should have been doing this a long time ago. It was taking pictures of what they're stating, because I know for sure at least a couple weeks ago they were saying 3959 was the radius. Now, if you look, it's 3958, and it's just weird to me that it's like they keep changing the numbers. They hold two different beliefs. They call it a globe, but they say it's an oblate spheroid. And then when they tell us the math, they say, oh, it's an approximation. It's not exact. Well, it's like, well, you can't have all of these things happening at once because they're holding so many beliefs all at the same time that contradict each other.
Yeah, it's painful.
Yeah.
It's painful. Very painful for our opponents, especially at this level.
Yeah, because there are places you'll see it says 3958.8, right? And other places it'll say 3963. Like, which one is it? You know what I'm saying? And how did you establish that?
No, that's in line with their rhetoric. No. That's in line with their rhetoric. They've got an oblate spheroid. You know, it's not perfect. So therefore, the slight discrepancies are going to make slight sense because it is an oblate spheroid in their rhetoric. So yeah, you're going to get slightly different. It's going to be slightly varied, their claimed radius, because you could only have one radius if it was an absolutely perfect sphere. So I don't take issue necessarily with there being slightly different, a mile out here and there. That makes sod all difference. The problem is still going to be the Black Swan, and the problem is still going to be their current declaration that they don't have a physical geometric sphere edge for a horizon, because they need one, and we've only got one, and it's not the one we see. The one we see that we don't see is going to be seen in their model, though. We just don't see that in reality. And they're telling us that currently, not realising how tight they're pulling their own noose.
Well, at best, I guess what we've done here is disprove the radius.
At best.
At best.
At best, we've imploded the entire heliocentric geometry. At best.
It's just strange how their numbers keep going up and down as if like the globe is just changing all the time. It's so weird. It's like, is it flexing? Is like, how does Google know when to change the numbers to be exactly accurate, like how they need it to be at that certain time? It's just
I can answer that. It doesn't exist in physical reality. So when I detail how the philosophers of ages gone by used an idea of heliocentrism to better understand the patterns of the lights in the sky, but at no stage in my assumption and this example did they reify that model into the ground beneath their feet. So at no stage do they assert that it's going to be an actual physical sphere that they're standing on when they use that model to understand a pattern in the sky. But upon utilising that model and seeing where there are minor discrepancies, things don't work quite perfectly, you can adjust the model in terms of how it describes the world, i.e. you can change a value that, if reified, translates into a rock physically growing and increasing its mass by a substantial amount. Well, that isn't a problem in a mathematical model. You can change anything you like. You can have the stars be as far or as close as you choose in a model. And it doesn't make any difference to the reality you face on a day-to-day basis, because the model isn't reality. That's reification. So how do you change radius when it's only when you're of the mindset that, that radius is something that's actually in existence, and changing it means the rock's grown. How is that possible? Well, it isn't in physical actualization, because the only way to describe it in those terms is to reify the model as though you actually stood on a sphere. And you're not. It's a model. So can you change the value of R in a model? Yeah! But if you to reify it, then no! It's got to be fixed. It's a rock. But we don't reify that model, so we understand how they can change it if they choose to. Because it's just a model. That's why it's changing. If it was real, absolutely, it would be set in literal stone, because it's supposed to be a stone-shaped rock and flying through a sky vacuum with gas attached to it. Of course, right? What's wrong with that? Well, it's 'cause none of it works. But, you know, that doesn't mean that you can't change R mathematically. In reality, in reification, no, you can't. If Earth's actually a rock, which it isn't, then you can't change R.
Well, we don't necessarily have to work on the really is level, so.
Exactly. So in the pre-show, we were talking about this show's tag. It's tagged as education. We're talking about stuff on the really is level. Now, do I need to put a disclaimer that this is for entertainment purposes? Hell no! Should Michio Kaku say, this is for entertainment and philosophy purposes? Yeah, he should. Will he? No. But will he disclaim during interview that it's guesswork? Well, we're not dealing in guesswork here. Yeah, the second law of thermodynamics is actually a natural law. Not guesswork. Fact. Reality. Nature. That's what we deal in. So no disclaimers needed. But I believe all the people who are talking about their models as though they're physical existences, maybe they would claim, if ever challenged, no, I made it clear, this is a model. Now, the people who listened to that and thought that that was the world they lived in, well, that's their problem. They're peasants. Intellectually inferior. I made it clear it's a model. The heliocentric model is a model. Well, if you wanted to choose and make it into an actual sphere beneath your feet, that's absurd. We all knew that. That's what you'll get if you ever challenge it. So don't worry about, oh, you've been lied to. You lied to yourself when you heard the word model and thought it meant real. It isn't.
Yeah, and it's almost like, you know how people go to stores and they, especially, I know I'm not to be rude, but older people, they'll be like, they'll notice a small difference as like a price change of something by like 20 cents. And it's like, if you take that, that same like, oh, hey, well, I just bought this yesterday. It was like $2.59. Now today it's $2.79. They're like, oh yeah, sorry, we forgot to change the price. It's like, if you take that and apply that to somebody who believed in the ball and they go and look at that on Google, it's just weird that they wouldn't actually look at that as if like, oh yeah, well, they're just changing the numbers, but it must be true because it's science. They know what they're doing. It's just like, well, no, how can you can't just change numbers around daily. Like it really doesn't make any sense. And they're not even showing you how it's changing either. They're just telling you.
Yep. Watch or read 1984. Now lay it all out. What's going on? They describe it in terms of the doublespeak of chocolate prices in 1984. So they tell you that they're going to increase the ration of chocolate and then they decrease the chocolate sizes. It's like, wow.
Well, they couldn't get everything right when they came up with the model, so they got to change things as new knowledge comes about. Oh well, it won't work if it's this, so then they change it.
Right.
Because it's a model.
Exactly. So let's say there's a radical change to the model. Meanwhile, what's that you say? A Snickers has gone up 3 pence and is now 25 grams. That's an outrage.
Oh yeah, that was my point. Just realizing that it was a scam. Sorry, I didn't finish. But yeah, that's exactly what it is. Yeah, exactly.
Right on. It's the same with a lot of mentality when people are dealing with finance. So back in the day, I used to be an estate agent, and people would be so quick to relinquish several £1,000s, in some instances tens of thousands of pounds at the drop of a hat. But as for buying a tin of paint and running it over with a brush, hell no, that's going to actually cost cash. Penny smart and pound stupid, that's what I used to call it. People would be extremely savvy when it came to the nitpicking of taking off bloody lighting fixtures from the home when they left the house, but they'd have lobbed £20,000 off the asking price to get it sold. You're like, you're nuts. But people are like that. They pay attention to the small things and not the big things. So you can change a massive detail in terms of the actual reality that they're faced with. And that's actually fairly strange to say it, but fairly easy to do. But you change the price of a Mars bar, and believe me, people will notice that. Is it Hitler that said about making the lie big? make it massive, or was it Stalin? I forget.
Yeah, I think I know what you're saying, but I can't remember it either. But
I can't remember the exact quote, but essentially, if you can make the lie super massive, then people will buy it far more easily than a subtle lie.
Go ahead. The bigger the lie,
the more likely people are to believe it.
Say that again, Travis.
The bigger the lie is, the more likely people are to believe it.
Right. But like any lie, it needs maintenance. And the heliocentric lie, I think the maintenance has been done by the people themselves in many instances. You know, hardly anybody that you can get to at the tail end of something that you would perceive as a piece of globe propaganda are actually in any way complicit or guilty of any sort of deceit. So back in the day, this is going back 2 years, maybe a bit further, Russian Vids put out a little video, and it was about a very low budget film, and there was a scene in it where the classroom that was in the scene had got a blackboard behind the scene with a grid and a flat earth map, an azimuth equidistant projection. And Russian Vids was like, look, truth in plain sight. There's a flat earth map on the board. It's just in the middle of the scene. There's no point in it being here. And the producer got in touch with him and said, I'd like to, tell you about how that actually came to pass. And he explained that the hidden hand came along and paid him to let him use their set if they paid all the fees to just have access to it. And what they produced was those chalk drawings. And he had no further explanation beyond it. And that was his explanation. So the dead end, the producer himself, other than describing someone who paid for the set, these I don't know, cloaked individuals, if you want to call them that, he wasn't complicit in anything. He just wanted to get the fees for that particular shoot done on that particular day, and they offered to pay all the expenses, so they did. And what did they get in return? Well, something on the chalkboard. He doesn't care. He just films his film, makes his way on to the next scene. Hey, Quantum Eraser, good to have you.
Yeah, good morning. It's Joseph Goebbels.
Oh, it was Goebbels?
Yeah.
Can you remember the exact quote?
Yep. If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, I missed the keep repeating it part.
Say it one more time.
If you tell a lie big enough and keep repeating it, people will eventually come to believe it.
That was for Travis to keep repeating it, by the way.
If you tell a lie big enough.
Someone switch him off.
I love you, Gooey. I love you, Gooey.
Press the Quantum Eraser reset button. Call IBM, he's gone wrong again.
You just... Oh, boy.
Everyone always wondered what happened to Deep Blue. Well, now you know.
Oh, my gosh. That was brilliant.
He's not running the Cathay Pacific check-in desk at all. He's sat on Flat Earth Debate. Been renamed Quantum Eraser.
It's the Flat Earth Watson.
Watson, right. Watson doesn't get talked about very much. Very, very fascinating piece of technology, Watson. I remember hearing about it about 6 years ago and going, wow, that's going to change the world, that is. No one ever talks about it. I'm sure it's making very, very important decisions in business. Maybe we're experiencing one of them now. Who knows?
Wow.
So this show's going out live on the second channel, Quantum Eraser. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Yeah, it's a pain in the ass to find, man.
Yeah, I bet 130 people have actually dedicated their efforts to finding the live show, given that it's not actually been publicised to the limited audience or more limited audience that the Nathan Oakley channel has. But it'll go out as a premiere after YouTube have scanned it thoroughly and checked it and made sure there's nothing that they don't like in there, and then it'll reach a reasonably decent sized audience later on this evening. Hello to everyone watching this in the Nathan Oakley 1980 channel.
It's a sorry state of affairs, man.
It did tell us, we discussed it on the pre-show, but they did tell us, as I mentioned to you on your show yesterday, they sent us a kind of announcement that there will be things that would be censored from view, and they are. So I can only hope that they return the ability to let my audience know when I'm broadcasting or when they return to their desks. Hopefully, we can only keep our fingers crossed in that regards. So often is the case that when things get switched off, they don't get switched back on again.
Wait, what happened? There's a new.
You were there, Chocolate.
Did
You
I
were there
miss
on.
something? There's a new censorship on top of all the old censorship. What? What's going on?
You were there on Quantum Eraser's show yesterday when we went through this. I know you joined late, but we still did go through it with you again. I'll just go through it again, Chocolate. So this show, for the people watching, thank you very much to the 130 people who've actually made their way to this live show. When it was going out on the Nathan Oakley 1980 channel live, it was only reaching a very limited audience. Same was the case with all of Arwin shows and Quantum Eraser shows. And people were highlighting the fact that you couldn't see the live show as live. There's no little dot above my channel saying live, and it's not in the subscriptions feeds. Now, potentially when there's a media event going on, they don't want YouTubers commenting on it in the way they don't want it necessarily commenting on. So I suspect for that reason, people who are suspected that they might say things they don't like in the moment when there's zero control over what you say live. So right here, right now, to the 130 people, I can literally say anything. There's nobody with a gun to my head or telling me I shouldn't say a particular thing. Now, fortunately, I know the guidelines well enough to know what isn't tolerated by YouTube. But by the same token, there's plenty of people in the same arena as we are considered being in who definitely don't read the guidelines and will say things all the time that will get their channel shut down. But the last thing they need, from what I've seen from past experience, is people fiddling with stuff in the moment while whatever magic trick's being performed. While the rabbit's actually being pulled out of the hat, they don't want anybody in the audience saying, the rabbit's in the table. They don't want that. So that's why I think this is the case currently. Hopefully it will return to normal in however long normalcy is claimed to be returning to in.
Yeah, you're right, because there was a point where I could see there would be a little red dot by your page, and your video, if you were live, would be the first one to pop up as soon as I hit subscriptions, and that stopped for a while. So yeah, I get it now.
It wasn't even live on your main channel. I pulled up both channels. I hit videos, right? Nothing on the main channel. And I knew you told me you were going over to the other one. So I pulled that one up, and it was still not premiering, but waiting.
Yeah, there's a lot of there's an off button been flicked somewhere, as I say, and I've just got to adapt. This isn't the worst thing I've dealt with in my career on YouTube. Far from it. This is a minor inconvenience, and I've reacted as I've reacted, and hopefully it'll still reach the majority of my audience, which is all I can ask for. But I do mind, but I don't mind adapting. It's just one of those things that you've got to do if you want to have any success on YouTube. If you don't take it seriously, you won't care. If you do take it seriously, you'll pay close attention to what's going on with the statistics and go, that doesn't look right. I better do something about that. And that's hopefully what will be achieved later on. I'll find out within 2 or 3 days. I'll have a good or reasonable handle on how effective my measures have been. Till then, watch this space. I'll let you know. Interesting. What comes to mind was an Orthodox talking to us about censorship, and he was saying they're not stopping you going live, and we detailed, well, what about all these other measures that have taken to prevent us from live streaming? Is that Sleeping Warrior that's just joined? It is.
Yes.
Hello, good to have you. And we detailed. Hey. We detailed with Unorthodox all the other measures, but the one thing that he was like, well, no, unless they're doing this particular severe measure of censorship, I won't take it seriously. It's like, I wonder if any of those people will now move the goalposts a little bit wider and say, yeah, but you are still capable of actually live streaming, even though you're not reaching even your own subscribers, or not overtly promoted to any of the people who actually want to be promoted to. That probably won't be enough either. It's like, no, unless you're physically not permitted to go live at all. What's cooking, Sleeping Warrior?
I've got a request for our fellow flat earthers. Just present my screen if you would.
You're on.
Okay, so this channel, Michael Van Beesen, he's a really well-spoken guy. He's polite. He's into real physics, or he at least presents that he's into real physics, and his videos are pretty comprehensive. You can learn about how pulleys work and how gravity works. Gravity? Whoa, what are you talking about? So what I've done is I've gone to his most recent video because I wanted to ask him because it's really difficult to get people that are popular or famous or physicists to respond. For example, I've had a comment from what's his name? I can't remember his name now off the top of my head. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, I've gone to Michael Van Beesen's channel, Walter Lewin, and I've asked him about gas pressure in a vacuum without a container. And the answer he gave was that it's basically a malformed question. Can you please elaborate? So, I mean, I gave it as clear as I could give it. How do you have gas pressure without a container in a vacuum, right? And he thought that was malformed. And then I gave him a more refined version. I never got a response from him. So I've prodded him and I've not had a response. But Michael Van Beesen's video, his most recent video, it's this one. Oh, hang on, he's done quite a few here, actually. I'm going to have to work out which one it is now. I've asked him, can he explain for me? I'm going to have to do this on the fly because he's done that many videos recently. I'm going to have to find which one is mine. I've asked him to explain how do you have gas pressure without a container. And somebody's given me the answer on his behalf. And then straight away he's responded and said, yes, well, good answer. I'm now going to have to find out which one it is. But I wanted to
Anthony,
request.
Anthony, hang on. Anthony, your mic in Discord is open while you're talking.
You can, hold on. That's not an issue. You just turn him down locally on your own Discord 10th. Carry on.
Yeah, it's all right. I've muted it.
Someone else sent me the message.
Okay, so what I'm asking, like our lot to do is this channel, Michael Van Beesen, it's Physics Chapter 67.1, Advanced E&M, Review Vectors 24 of 55, Spherical Coordinates, Watch Out. It was only in the last day or two, 24, so it was yesterday's video. He is active, he puts them on all the time. And I've just asked, can I ask an off-topic question? How are we breathing at all if Earth has gas pressure, but it exists in the vacuum of space but no membrane? And it took a while for him to respond, but when he did get back to me, somebody had already responded. Earth's gravity allows gas to accumulate all around the planet. Michael Van Beesen straight afterwards said, perfect answer, but I saw it straight away when he did respond eventually. So I said, how is it perfect? Current science adopts Einstein's theory of general relativity, where it's clearly defined as an effect of the curvature of space-time, not a force of attraction. Now, I'm passing myself off here as a neutral or a baller. So I've said, I've argued gravity against flat earthers, but I don't have any evidence trumping Einstein and his gravity being an effect. So this guy's responded, and I've not actually read this yet. But what I want to ask our lot to do is go over to his channel, find the video from yesterday that starts off with this title, and just put some kind of commentary on underneath, because I just want to try and get conversation from him, because I want him to address it. I want to know how you can have gas pressure from his perspective, because he thinks gravity is the perfect answer. Well, we all know gravity is not a force. So I'm just trying to get the guy to respond and engage in a dialogue with him if we can, because maybe he'll have a conversation. Science is all about questioning science, right? And validating stuff and seeing if
he's a mathematician. Works. He's a mathematician. I've run across this bozo. Go ahead and read that, Anthony. I can't see it. His last response.
Well, his last response was perfect answer, but somebody called Casper Ablijag or whatever says.
Oh, I thought it was him. Sorry.
Yeah, look, the current description of gravity is indeed from general relativity, which indeed postulates gravity is more of an effect. But how does that affect anything about how gas is not supposed to be effectively falling towards Earth? It does not.
He's a moron.
Yeah, pressure's a thing, Casper. It pushes out in all directions.
So
I just want to try and create some interest on that thread so that he gets attention and he has to start responding, because I can't do it all on my own and he's not responding to me yet, and I just want to try and get an answer off him.
My posts are being deleted from various sites, so the censorship is getting real heavy. I just wanted you to know that. It's been going on for about 4 months.
Yes, same here.
Well, definitely the case that they don't want this Einsteinian gravity being reminded to current physics. So just try and go to his channel and see if you can engage him.
Third
Now
time's
think
a charm,
about
Sleepy
this.
Warrior. We are on an educational channel. That is the current pseudoscience. So regardless of whether or not the fundies who we deal with, or in this case, somebody who's a mathematician, whether or not they concern themselves with what is the current pseudoscience is not your concern. You know, you're saying it matter of fact, right? You're right, he's wrong. There is no two ways about that. Gravity is not a force. It's not holding gas. It's not violating the second law of thermodynamics. You know where you're correct, and stand your ground, Anthony. That's it. You're right, he's wrong. Any more for any more?
Yeah, anymore. They're deleting my post. Right? They've been doing it, like I said, for about 4 or 5 months, man. I'll tell you what. About to piss me off. I spent 21 years in the military fighting against that shit. Right? And somebody's coming by on YouTube deleting my shit. Almost because you're.
Go on, Kiwi.
I'll share my pain otherwhere.
Fair enough. With that, I'm going to say to all of you watching on the Nathan Oakley live stream, or I should say as a cue to those of you watching on the Nathan Oakley 1980 channel, this bit is live. So if you did want to watch these shows live, you need to subscribe to the Nathan Oakley channel. Link will be in the comments and info box below this video. As I say, if you're watching on Nathan Oakley channel live, this is where we bid you farewell. A huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of you who smashed the super chat, liked, commented, shared, subscribed, and all that good stuff. Be sure to check out nathanoakley.com and the Flat Earth Debate Forum to keep up to date with the community debate. If you're watching on Nathan Oakley 1980, stay tuned as there will be an after show to follow. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I'll see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!